What's up, everybody? It's Chad from Ask Chad, Grassy Logic. I'm here again with Ashley from Gringo, New Mexico, a cannabis dispensary here in New Mexico, southern New Mexico. Let's be specific here. We're here again with a second episode of Ask Chad, Grassy Logic. Thursday, around the same time. We're a little late today, but don't worry, we did the show. Ashley joined me again this week. She did such a great job last week that we had her on again. She brought a couple of great new things to talk about, some great studies from here in New Mexico, but we'll talk about that a little more later. So keep on listening to figure that out. First off, thank you again for joining us. Yeah. For the people who are tuning in, they're new, go ahead and tell them who you are.
Thank you so much for having me back. Again, my name is Ashley Martinez. I work at Gringo, New Mexico. We're located right across the street from Chick-fil-A on Lowman Avenue. Lowman. I want to make sure you guys are following us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, because that's my job. I do all of the video content creating. So it's really fun. I'm really proud of my work. I have a really great team that helps me with the static images. And right now we're actually doing some really fun giveaways. So if you guys tag us or share any of our information that you find on social media, you come in and let us know and show us. We give you something a little extra special. So totally worth checking out.
Yeah, totally, guys. Yeah. Don't forget, give them a tag, give them a shout out, head on over, and maybe I'll try it just in case. I probably can't do that. I've actually checked out, the social media stuff that you do, and yeah, it's really good stuff, really good content and everything. I saw that, I tagged you and you tagged me back in the post. Yeah. So that was really nice of you, and I really appreciate that. So getting you guys out there in the word. I've been seeing more, billboards and stuff and signs for you guys. So it's great to see. So yeah, appreciate that, and thanks for the update on Gringo and everything, and getting the word out. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and go on with the show. Last episode, we talked about Gringo, what they're about, their history, how they got started. So if you guys want to check that out, go ahead and go to the last episode and check it out. Ashley joining me on that one as well. She did a great job. It was her first time doing it, so props to that. So we'll go ahead and go in with it. Go ahead and check that episode out, and we'll go right in. So as you guys know, the legislative session is going and roaring. There's bills pouring in all the time. I try to check about every day to see what kind of bills are going in. Right now, as it for cannabis, there's like some tax stuff, just clarifying some tax stuff where it's going. I think I mentioned that the last time. However, this time around, looks like they're going to try to change the CRA, but it hasn't really been introduced yet. So it's not. However, what is official is Senator Ortiz Pino introduced a bill that would actually change the medical cannabis card requirements. So Intel is it's taking out the requirement for you to see your doctor every year. We already know that the card is good for 3 years, and I believe it's staying for your more, and you don't have to go here to see the doctor still like it was before when you had to get a new card every year. So now you get to keep the 3-year card, but also you have to keep the relationship with the doctor. So meaning that you have to see him periodically. He'll have to check in with you, but you don't have to report that to the state. I believe that'll be at the end when you're, reapplying and everything. So that's really good for, cannabis cardholders.
Absolutely.
Because, since they're seeing it go from, you got to do it every year. And then we went and we pushed for it to go to every 3 years. But they're still like, well, every 3 years, but you still got to see the doctor. It's pretty much like you have to get a renewal, but you just kept the card. And so I think they're kind of like, okay, well, that was a little dumb. So we're going to go back. We're not going to see the doctor every year. You just kept the card. That was the only purpose. It's 3 years. Whenever that expires, you have 30 days to renew, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really good. So patient card holders out there, contact your representatives and make sure you let them know that this is a great positive change for the medical cannabis program. Something that now, let's see that this is going to stick the way that this is. This bill still has to go to several different committees. And then from there, it can get hacked, stuff can get added, and it can totally die in any of those committees. And it could die if it passes those committees on the floor, the Senate or the House, depending on where it is and where. So keep that in mind. So this isn't like a for sure thing. This is just something that's just like, so, and keep that in mind too, that the governor can still veto. So just because something passes doesn't mean that she's going to guarantee sign it. So just keep that in mind too. But this is something good to see that they're still thinking about the medical cannabis program and the patients, because in most states that do go, that's something that goes first thing that suffers. I mean, have you seen that, firsthand just in the industry so far?
I know I've heard it a lot from people who have been existing medical patients. And I think that it's a demographic that needs to be protected, excuse me. So I hope we don't go that way. We're supposed to lead by example, right?
Yeah, definitely. New Mexico, we do that, but just people forget we're here. So it's all right. We still lead by example anyway. And I hope that we can continue doing that, because we've kind of been doing that. Like I said, the last episode, we've got props from CEOs of, like Weed Maps and stuff like that, great job regulators for our adult use program. And I agree, we've done it, a lot better than certain other states. I've been to Washington, they didn't have home grows for a while. Their taxes are still a little bit ridiculous. You come to New Mexico, our taxes are a little bit better. We've had home grows since the start, even on the medical side. It's to see that we're doing something right. And hopefully we can continue that with something like this. And we don't forget the medical cannabis patients, because we're the ones who, medical cannabis patients are the ones, I'm not the only medical patient, are the ones who pioneered this program too. The ones who were the ones who came up with all these ideas, the consumption lounges, that came from the side. And there was only one dispensary in the whole state that had a medical cannabis consumption lounge up north. It wasn't until Soul came around that had the one here in this one. So it's really good that they're really thinking about us, because we thought we're going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
Because historically, pretty much every medical cannabis program dies after legalization. So it's really great to see that, we're still up and on it. So with that being said, guys, we're going to move on. I got that all day about medical cannabis patients, what's happened in the industry and everything. But for another day, so much more to update you guys about. And I want to get to Ashley's really great study that she found, because it could affect some of us, every day, or it could affect some of you listening right now. Second of all, is Northern New Mexico College is going to be offering some college courses to medical professionals. And I think that's a really, really great progressive thing for any college to do, especially small college, starting there. And maybe you will pick.
I hope so. I think this is an incredible opportunity for young medical professionals, and even, older medical professionals that are, because Western medicine, I think we're kind of infamous for band-aiding a lot of, chronic illnesses instead of finding root. And I know me personally, when I got into herbalism, I was really shocked at the lack of nutrition education that doctors were required to have.
Really?
And I mean, it's not a requirement in,
I didn't know that.
medical school. Yeah, it's kind of alarming, when you go and you want to discuss nutrition related ailments or things that could be healed herbally, just proper diet, nutrition, and exercise, and your doctor doesn't know a whole lot about it. Not to say that they're all that. There's a ton of amazing providers, but I think this is just insanely, profoundly wonderful for people that want to embrace it and take advantage of trying to figure out how to heal their patients holistically and naturally. So I'm really excited about what you found there.
No, I am too. This is really huge. And it's not just for college students, people who are going to be medical professionals. This is for current medical professionals. So don't get it twisted. So it's for people who are already in that industry. And I think it's great, because I've, experienced some misconceptions when it comes to some, medical doctors, nurses, and experience who are educated on also use, and who are also very pro cannabis. But there's the two sides, and I think that both sides need to come together and look at the science, because in the end, these professionals are medicists, need to look at the science before they start looking at the reefer madness ads from back in the day. So I think this is something great and something really progressive, and it starts here in New Mexico and it starts to bleed out in the rest of the nation. So once this gets out and gets word, and more people kind of have an idea that this is going on in New Mexico, I think that it'll blow up. About you?
I hope so. I'm out of our of how accessible naturopathic medicine and holistic healing is available to us. And I don't know if it's because we're in the desert and it's groovy out here to begin with, or if we just give off that kind of vibe. But I would love to see this just spread through our nation like wildfire. I think it'd be amazing.
Oh, dude, I agree 100% too. And it does. These courses they've brought up and they've thought up, or very well thought out, and there isn't a lot of misleading information in it too. So I guess only time will tell, and we'll see what happens and what comes from it. And if you're one of these students that's going to be attending this, if you could reach out to me and let me know how it goes throughout the course. I would love to hear what they're teaching you guys. I don't have to report or anything. Curious about it. Maybe I'll report it in the end, what they did. So it's just something that'd be really great to be a part of. So again, thank you, Northern New Mexico College. Cool. So we're getting to the legislation quick. One of the other bills that was introduced, and I'm not too sure who introduced it, but the bills, and there's two of them actually, it's going to ban smoking in racinos. And what that means, it doesn't specify cannabis. Right now, the way that the CRA is written is it's kind of along the same lines as the Clean Air Indoor Use Act. And so within that is you can smoke in racinos. And what they're doing is just making it smoke at racinos. And that means it's a racing casino, like a horse racing casino. They have one down here, in Sunland Park, and on the New Mexico side, we have one here. I think there's one in Rio Doso. They're all over the state. And so I don't know if it's a problem. Most of the ones I've been into smoking, I
don't think I've ever walked through a cloud of anything.
Yeah.
At a racino.
Yeah, me neither. I can't say that this is an issue at all. And I can't say that even cannabis, something that's there, and cannabis is mentioned, and on this show I talk about cannabis. So if it's mentioned, I really talk about it, and it could affect someone. Maybe there's somewhere in the state, that allows smoking, maybe allows smoking cannabis, and maybe it became an issue, and that's why they brought it up, or maybe they're just trying to close a loophole. So it's interesting that they did this in the first place, that they introduced that in the first place, because I didn't even know that was an issue. Because everyone I've ever was starting to drink, or they have area to smoke is either outside, or they had a separate area that was connected to outside to smoke. So anyway, I don't know. Again, guys, this may pass. This may get to its first committee and die. This may get all the way to the floor and die. It may get all the way to the governor and die. It may get signed. I have no very beginning, so I'll keep tabs on all these cannabis stuff related things as we go. So just stay tuned. You guys will be updated regardless by me or host about important. And I'm excited to talk about this. Is Addie I was talking about that she stumbled upon, and it's something that's pretty exciting and cool. I actually know the doctor part of the study. I've known him through years throughout the cannabis side, on the medical cannabis side and everything, and got to talk to him a bunch, and we even got to hang out after one of the award ceremonies and stuff like that at one of the cannabis events. So it was really cool to talk to him, and spent a lot of good time. So it's cool that seeing more of his research and everything being done, and they're actually looking at it. So without further ado, could you please tell the people about this great study that you found?
I would be happy to. This was actually shared with me by one of my coworkers that has had their own journey in healing and dealing with stomach. So the specific title, it was conducted at UNM as, does cannabis offer immediate relief from symptoms of nausea, but the product use matters. Okay. And I think that's it's an important point to make, because a lot of people will come in wanting relief or healing, but they don't know how to go about it. And one of the things that they point out is that flower and concentrates yielded faster and greater relief than edibles or tinctures, while vaping yielded less relief than consuming cannabis via a joint or pipe. So I like that they pointed that out, because a lot of people don't take into account the bioavailability of what they're consuming, and how beneficial it is for whatever symptom to alleviate. So I know my personal experience in beginning to experiment and decide what does and what does not work for me. Mm-hmm. I always encourage people, if you're able to take flower through inhalation, I always encourage that first, because it's a much more immediate effect. Yes. You're going to know whether or not you like the profile or the personality flower, as opposed to an edible, where that's like a full-on commitment. You got to decide you're going to set time aside to ingest it, and then write out the psychoactive component to see if you even enjoy the benefits of utilizing it. And then you have to wait for your body to process it out. So some people just don't have that option to do, in which case, flower is always a great go-to. But something else that they pointed out here is that it's linked to the part of the brain, because they were like, why is it so effective? And, because of cannabis's ability to activate the CB1 receptors, they're actually linked to the part of your brain, such as the insular cortex, which is involved in interoception, conscious awareness of internal bodily status.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was so cool, because it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
So it's kind of, if we're able to access that part of the brain and say, hey, settle down, there's no reason to feel nauseous or sick or, whatever. Because a lot of people know that cannabis has been utilized for a long time to help patients enduring chemotherapy or treatment. It tends to help with nausea, and it gives them appetite so that they have the strength to fight the cancer, which is incredible. But how many other existing conditions are there that you suffer from nausea as a
Yeah.
secondary component to it. So I think it's great that they're utilizing this and looking into it and trying to find benefits for people that, you know, might not have a fatal diagnosis, but are still having a hard time managing regular life.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people I've been meeting recently that have like IBS,
Right.
Way more than I thought there would be. And so this could help people, with issues like that. Some of them, their triggers, are wide range of things, it's different per person too. So that, that could help someone out who's maybe trying edibles to help them out with maybe thinking, oh, I don't want to smoke. But now they can look at this and say, oh, maybe I should give it a try and see if this actually works for me. Because you want to use cannabis, but you want to use it effectively.
Absolutely.
And efficiently. And so you don't want to waste your cannabis because it costs money.
Right.
So you want to medicate in the correct way and manner. So this is great information to have. And it's great that we're figuring this out, because beforehand it was just use cannabis. It was just didn't matter what it was just cannabis. And now we're finding out that there's different uses of cannabis to help different things. Now it's not saying that there's no place for edibles, no place to concentrate and vape or anything. No. It's just saying in this case for nausea, smoking and flower seems to be a better choice case in this scenario. So that's really interesting. I'm sure UNM is going to be studying this more. And Dr. Vigil, I'll be keeping a tab and looking at what else you got going on, because this is so interesting, and I appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. If you guys are curious to read the study from UNM, I'm sure you can find it there on the website. But to make it more convenient, shared it to our Facebook. So please feel free to go back, find it. There's a ton of really wonderful educational resources.
Nice, cool. Well, appreciate that. And I think you have a bonus study for us about bipolar disorder for our educating the public piece that we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
So she found another piece, a bonus for you guys, and it's about bipolar disorder in cannabis. So go ahead and let's talk about that one. That's great.
Yeah. So the difference between the bipolar disorder study and the one that UNM released, the bipolar one's by Verilief, if you're looking for it on our Facebook. But again, a lot of these are anecdotally, collected stories. So while some people have been able to share their testimony, we don't have actual data and statistics to whether or not it was a placebo effect or whether or not it can, truly be linked to the efficacy of the flower. But I found this really, really interesting because, as I've begun my journey, and I think there's a great time and place for synthetically manufactured drugs for certain demographics, but I think for studied individuals that want to conserve and protect the integrity of their kidneys and their liver and don't want to deal with long-term chronic side effects, I think naturopathy is the way to go. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, exactly. We should be allowed to have those for our bodies. Yeah. But this new research that they're utilizing, saying that, there's unique beneficial effects on the cognitive performance and goal-oriented behavior in people that suffer from bipolar disorder. So in terms of dealing with the really severe mood swings, going from being manic or depressed to super energetic and not having a whole lot of control between that, they're finding that they can reduce dopaminergic transmissions in the brain, and that cannabis can also help suppress bipolar symptoms. So these are just the preliminary findings. And they're indicating that cannabis can actually help normalize the dopamine release and lead to improvements in goal directors.
Nice.
So it's still very much in the beginning series of it, but I mean, that's exciting.
It is. And for the people who are new to cannabis, can you break it down? Maybe a little
crayon.
Terms? Yeah. Writing in crayon for the people who are just really new to cannabis in this.
So for mood disorders, when there tends to be an imbalance in the chemicals, obviously all of these tend to be neurological, and we have CB1 and CB2 receptors in our brain and throughout our body. That's, like you said, for some people, edibles is a better option. For some people, it's absorbed better when more of the CB2 receptors are activated. So basically, what all of this is saying is they're finding flower that is specific to mood enhancement. So in Barney, you would walk in and ask for a flower that was more sativa dominant, because sativa dominant flower tends to have energizing and euphoric effects, which tends to be linked to high limonene levels. So if you want to get into the terpenes of it, you want a limonene rich flower. would be my recommendation. Anything having to do with like chronic pain management, you're going to want more myrcene, things like that. So it really helps, and you benefit more from educating yourself on the sticks of the flower instead of just what THC percentage is it? How high is it going to get you? Because a lot of people, now that we've adopted adult use, not everybody necessarily wants to get and feel high. More people just want to feel healed.
Yeah.
So I think it's really exciting that we have studies like this that are nurturing that type of environment.
Too, and I'm actually a big proponent of microdosing. I'm a huge fan of it, and I try to promote it all the time to my friends, my elder friends, people that I know that are a little older. And I'm just trying to kind of promote that, because there's no need to sit there and just down a whole bowl. There's just no necessarily need. And, through microdosing, you can get the same medical benefit with less cannabis use. And it's amazing. And you get a better flavor, to be honest. You get all the terpenes instead of trying to share a bowl with someone.
Right.
If you're like third in the lineup, you're going to get the worst part of it.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
That's like the worst part, being like third or fourth in rotation. That sucks. So, check out, microdosing, guys. It's been a while. I've always something that hasn't really done just, but a lot of people finding bends. I have tell me don't use cannabis, the %.
Right.
It gets me too high. And you know what? Sometimes it is. And if you get certain cannabis with the right terpenes and THC, because I've had cannabis that's 16, 15% THC, but 3% to 5% terpene, that put me out. That shit out of me. And so I was pretty stoned, and so it goes to show more to the plant than just THC, CBD. There's a whole more loads of compounds that go with it. It all works together, and better together is what I like to say.
Absolutely. It's the entourage effect. And just since we're talking CBD, because I'm part of that demographic, I don't like to feel I don't use THC unless like my dad have a disability. I don't want to have. I don't think I'm volunteers. So to look for products where I can microdose, we actually carry microcubes at Gringo, which usually are like 2 milligrams in gummy edibles. But another way to do that is to balance out your CBD and your THC. So my favorite ways to do it is like maybe a 1-to-1, 5 milligrams of CBD and 5 milligrams of THC, because you can even have. I actually try 10 to, so it was grams of CBD, 5 milligrams of THC. That to me, I'm sorry, 20 milligrams to 2 milligrams of THC.
Okay.
Wasn't right.
Yeah, you got it.
And for me, that was the perfect amount to kind of settle down my anxiety and help me get to sleep and get a good night's rest.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah. And it goes back to what I say is every cannabis use is medical use, and that's a huge medical use. And of course, there's people who do use cannabis party and just I've been part of it before, recreation. And enjoy it for recreation in those 8 times. Most of the time people use. If you're at a gathering, someone pulls out a doobie, yeah, it's recreation. But do you get some medical benefit? Well, if it helps you, then you did.
Yeah.
If you got some kind of relief from it, then it helped you. But I just feel like that we do need to start pushing microdosing and these lower THC ones that have the high terpene profiles in them, because it will help people out a little.
Absolutely.
Stop having the attack. Look at the THC, because in there we're like, oh my 3D for something to me.
Have his energy 111 calls.
Oh, those are Oh my God, I'm dead. I'm dead.
One of those. I said, "What?" And she was like, "My heart's beating backwards." And I was like, "This lady can't be serious." But I mean, it has to be really scary when you're taken on to that psychoactive you weren't anticipating.
Yeah, you have someone like, "Oh my God, the number 11 is backwards." Just freaking out, and you're like, "What?"
Oh no, that sounds terrifying.
It does. It's like, guy. Thank you for me on educate. little we're doing. We're gonna move on the show. The show. I got bonus things. We're gonna move the legislature. I know. But a lot during the legislative session. I guess Andrea Romero, she was one of the people who pushed and helped write the CRA, or the Cannabis Regulation Act, to get us, adult use. She was giving us a heads up of what's to come for changes in the CRA soon, and she was saying that looks like they're going to try to microbit more cannabis to now they're 150, and it's going to add that to the amount that the big guy to 1,000%, 22,000 is what they're going to, which I think is what we pushed when they were going for legalization. We kept telling them that no, 50 just isn't enough. At first they wanted to do 100, and we're like, there's way. I even told them, I was like, I think 1,000 to 2,000 plants would be, more than enough for them. Because I mean, the big producers, they get 20,000 plants. What's 2,000 plants to 20,000 plants? That's, oranges and grapes there at that. So there's a way this guy's 2 plants my ass, I have 1,000, well, better 1,000 plants growing and is killing. You better. So I think it's fair. I mean, it makes it a little bit more competitive for the micros themselves. They can go around and check different places. There's more competition for the retails as well. They can get more availability from these establishments because they can produce more. And that helps New Mexico overall, because not every place in New Mexico has a large producer. There's a lot of micro producers out there doing it on a small scale, and if they've probably had some fun, can up and get thousands. Maybe it was started at the 250.
Well, I am curious how that would impact the most financial if you're for that amount of plants suddenly huge expenditure. It's not what you for. And I would hope that they've been successful enough to go ahead and adopt that.
Me too, and I hope you guys have saved your money and have invested it wisely into your business to allow you to do that. So this is something that if you are a micro business or you plan to become one, contact your legislators, let them know this is something that you want. Because me as an advocate myself and in the industry for something for, and I think it needs, I think it needs to be added. So with the of it that Andrea mentioned, with money and industry quality. New Mexico, sure, have any studies going on when it comes to the industry at all, or?
I haven't. We have a very broad demographic that comes in just to our dispensary alone. And just based upon what I've seen in visiting other dispensaries and, areas like that, it's a very diverse group and everybody's embraced. So,
and I think they're more or less meaning like the ownership businesses make sure, and are all industry and really much, and people the deck talking, being able to all around. Heard that from the very beginning. Like I didn't realize how expensive it was. Like how much does it cost to get in? And when you tell them the figures and the numbers that sometimes just to get started on a micro, it could cost you up to where $500,000. If you want something state of the art or good, you don't want to do outdoor, and their eyes just be like, what? Or you tell them how much one light costs. And they go, oh my God, times that by however many I need, and it adds up. So I think this is something good for the industry to talk about. I don't know if it's like actively going on though, and it could be an issue that I just don't know about, or that's not real about. But I think it should be visited. We're a poor state. So, I guess it is something that, they could be worried about. And of course, money, they're probably taxes. And they just want to make sure that taxes are probably going to the right, correct places that they should be. Because from what I've seen, they're introducing bills, just kind of tweak things here and there to make sure that the funds are going to the right, correct places instead of being thrown wherever. So those are the kind of the changes that Romero is saying. If there's any more, guys, I'm going to update you. Once they do post that or drop the bill for the the changes to the CRA, I'll post it on my own socials. I'll tag whoever if you want. I can tag you in my post, so that you guys can stay up to date, and we'll stay. I'll stay up to date. So moving on to our last bonus thing. After that looks like Las Vegas, Nevada has added their first consumption hotel. that's actually really interesting because not many places have really adapted consumption lounges. But to see a consumption hotel, that's really cool because it's a whole floor. In New Mexico, we're allowed to do that, but it's only, I think, 10% of the rooms of your hotel allowed to be smoking, and that's tobacco or cannabis. And so to see a whole floor, they must either have a lot of rooms or their laws are totally different. So what do you think about that? Is it kind of cool? I mean, what do you?
I feel like you kind of fall into a black hole once you land on the strip in Las Vegas in, a normal.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I think it's going to be really interesting, and just based on the other things that Vegas has done with their resources, I think it's at least an experience to be had.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, if you guys never had a chance to go to a consumption lounge, try it. It's fun. We have one here in Las Cruces. I think there's a couple more opening up.
I believe they have 2 more.
Yeah, there's 2 more. One used to be one of the liquor stores here in town, and it's on the other side. But I mean, it's really great. One's going to be like a sport theme, like like a sports bar kind of theme, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I like sports, but I don't want to go somewhere and have to listen to a drunk asshole all day.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that. I'm sorry. I'd rather go chill. Yeah. I get cheering. Don't get me wrong. I love to get the cheering, cheering for your sports team, but that drunk guy.
Oh,
we all know that drunk guy.
I would have laid that guy.
Oh,
You're
man.
not in the UFC. You're not even in the corner. Settle down, please.
It's like, chill out, bro. At least when you're smoking, you're like, oh, I couldn't do that at all. That guy's talented. Oh, he's so talented.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I like that comparison.
Yeah, exactly. You're a little more humble when you're stoned versus when you're drunk. You're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Hold my beer. It's like, I'm not doing that. You can hold the joint for a second.
Self-grandiosity versus realism.
Exactly. Which one am I going to take? Right. I've been a part of both, and I think I'll take the one with reality. So anyway, guys, that was it for the bonuses, and that is it for the show, actually. And Ashley, thank you again for showing up and being on the show again with me.
Thank
I really
you so
enjoy
much
it.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to the next time you come on the show with me and everything. So again, if you want, you can do the outro.
I know how to do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us on the show. We look forward to meeting with you again. Take care.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that was a good show. I'll see you again next week of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Again, subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do to know